Mistakes were made, but not by me, is what this theme is. Lawrence, thank you. And actually, I'm quite honored to be included in this group as a social psychologist, because many people think that, if you claim you're doing psychological science, that's an oxymoron anyway. And my job as a social psychologist is to explain that actually, yes, social psychologists do research, and we are scientists in our own way. In Los Angeles, where I live, people think a social psychologist is a therapist who hangs out in a lot of bars. And so I'm always trying to explain what exactly it is that we do. And of course, I do share the admiration in our society for the research from neuroscience. Look what we've learned tonight on this panel, and the findings from evolutionary psychology. But as Lawrence said, with a kind of caution, because I'm worried that biological reductionism has become so extreme that nowadays people think, really to show you're doing science, you've got to be studying the brain. There were two researchers actually did a cute study of this. They gave the same lecture to two different audiences. But one audience heard the lecture with a brain, scans, fMRIs and so forth, and the other did not. And everybody thought that the lecture with the brain was more scientific. So now, I don't go anywhere without my brain. I just want to reassure you that you will be hearing about some science this evening. Okay, no brain. Now, I also want to say that I'm really impressed by the research we've had from evolutionary psychology. I think it's tremendously important, and an important humility correction for us all. The fact that basic personality traits like extroversion can be found in the octopus certainly should give us pause as a species. But also, as a social psychologist, I've been interested in how our theories of evolution have changed, evolved, dare I say, over the decades. When I was in graduate school, in the days before there were any women's bathrooms on the floor of the US Senate, it was so long ago that PMS had not been invented. Theories of evolution were primarily designed to explain to us why men had the power, and there were theories of selfishness and competition, and of course the Darwinian view of sexuality, which is what I call the King and I approach to sexuality. Those of you who remember this musical, the king sings, "A woman must be like a flower with honey for just one man. The man must be like the honeybee and gather all he can." No one in those days were interviewing the queen, okay? And I must tell you that in my ensuing decades of studying the study of sex differences, I have to tell you that is the one difference that has been most reliable and unchanging in all of these years. Men really, really love that theory more than women do. Okay, so as women, though, enter these fields of evolution and biology, and in the trail of the brilliant and wonderful Robert Trivers, we've learned that not only is female promiscuity a part of human behavior, but so are such overlooked virtues as cooperation, altruism, and empathy. Now, what does this have to do with self-deception? I think this: today, when all of us on this weary, fighting planet are so worried about the state of our lives, about the state of our planet, we resonate to the evidence that we aren't so sapiens after all. Look at how many books, look at how much research has come out showing that we are irrational, emotional, foolish, and self-deluding, which we are. But if evolution gave us self-deception, it also gave us self-awareness. If it gave us gullibility, it also gave us skepticism. It gave us greediness, it also gave us fairness, a sense of fair play. It gave us the ability to invent spam and the ability to invent science. So to me as a social psychologist, the interesting question is not just what hath evolution wrought, But what are the social and cultural conditions that allow us or require us to shape our capacities in one direction or another? My topic here is cognitive dissonance, which indeed is one of the key mechanisms of self-deception. And it's a good example of the benefits and disadvantages of evolution in this respect, because although it does seem to be hardwired, we can learn to correct for it in the same way that understanding the optical illusions that we've seen gives us insight and the ability to control for them. Dissonance is indeed the discomfort we feel when two cognitions contradict each other. Jon Stewart, who is using this term all the time on his show, describes the process as two rats fighting in a bag. Okay. And that's exactly right. Smoking is bad for me versus I'm a heavy smoker. They don't live well in the bag. Dissonance is as uncomfortable as hunger, and like hunger, we're motivated to reduce it. Smokers have to quit, or they have to justify smoking. Self-justification is what allows us to sleep at night, comfortable in the choices that we've made. We make a decision, as Susanna said, and then we find an explanation for it. We justify it. Despots do this. They justify the thousands of people they have murdered in their regimes. They sleep just fine at night. The need to reduce dissonance, however, is most powerful when we are confronted with evidence that we have done something inconsistent with our own view of ourselves. And, as Robert pointed out, since our view of ourselves is that we all live in Lake Wobegon, and we are brighter, kinder, cuter, smarter, and more ethical than everybody else, we are really motivated to maintain that view of ourselves. There was a very cute study done at two fundamentalist Christian colleges in America where the great majority of students thought they were humbler than average. I do love that study. Okay, so faced now with this evidence, somebody says, you've just done something really stupid, Carol. You know, look, you've done this foolish thing, or this incompetent thing, or this unethical thing, or this fattening thing. Now we have a choice. We can say, oh, thank you so much for giving me this evidence, showing me that my lifelong philosophy of childbearing is wrong, and that my belief in vaccines causing autism is wrong, and oh, thank you for pointing out that I've just behaved like an idiot. I'm so grateful to you. Or we don't. We dismiss the evidence, we tell the other person to go and get lost, thank you very much for your observations, but you're really an idiot. So is your data, and you know what you can do with your data. What we do, in short, is we discredit the evidence to maintain our view of ourselves as being good, kind, ethical, and fair. Now, this kind of self-justification is self-deception, but it's not the same thing as intentionally lying to others to get off the hot seat when we're caught doing something we know is wrong. The insidious thing about dissonance reduction is that it is largely an unconscious mechanism that allows us to lie to ourselves to preserve our opinion of ourselves. That's why the implications of this theory, of this research, are so important, because they show that our problems don't arise from bad people doing bad things. They arise from all of us. Good people, bad people, whatever that generic term means, from people who justify the bad things they do in order to preserve their belief that they're good people. Okay? That's why this kind of self-deception can be so dangerous. Now, how do people come to do those foolish, bad, unethical things in the first place? It works like this. First slide. This is from an actual study of children. Let's imagine we have two students at the top of a pyramid. They're a millimeter apart in their attitudes toward cheating. They think it's not a good thing to do, but look, there are worse crimes in the world, and it's not a good thing, it's not a horrible thing, it's just a thing. I would never do it myself, but you know, it's not so bad. Now they're taking a final exam. This exam is crucial for their grade in the course. They're going to either get into graduate school or not. Their whole lives depend on this exam. And they freeze on an important question. They freeze. They haven't a clue what the answer is. They know they're going to go down with this exam. And now the student next to them, the one with the beautiful handwriting, makes her answer apparent. Do you cheat or don't you cheat? On an impulse, one cheats. One looks at her answers and cribs from them, and the other says, no, I'm not going to do that. One gives up the grade for integrity, the other gives up integrity for the grade. Next slide. Now, nope, you went too far. Backward, okay? Now, here's the point. The minute you make a step off that pyramid, the minute you take some behavioral change, cheat or don't cheat, now you must justify the action you took in order to reduce dissonance. That is, to keep your behavior consonant with your attitudes. You can't change the behavior, so you shift the attitude. The one who cheated will now justify that action by saying, cheating really isn't such a big deal. Everybody cheats. Everybody here cheats. It's a normal thing, and besides, in another language, we would be calling it cooperation. And besides which, also, I need to do this for my career. But the one who resisted the temptation to cheat will justify that action by deciding that cheating is far more immoral than he originally thought. In fact, this is not a victimless crime. Cheating is disgraceful. People who cheat should be expelled. We must make an example of them. Within a week, they will have slid down this pyramid of self-justification and dissonance reduction to be as far apart in their ideas about cheating as you can imagine. And they will now think they have always felt that way about cheating. One wants to hang up cheaters by their ankles and get them out of this school, and the other is dismissing it as not being important. Now here then is my message about self-deception. All of us will be on the top of that pyramid frequently in our lives with a choice to make. Stay in a troubled relationship or get out. Admit your part in that family quarrel or keep blaming your brother-in-law. Begin an extramarital affair or not. Have a little schmoodle in the men's room of the airport with that guy. You've always wanted to know what that was like, or not. Believe that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, or not. Whichever choice we make, we will justify it to keep our attitudes and our behavior in harmony, and this is the key. We will then start looking only for information that supports our decision that we were right, and we will ignore, forget, minimize, and trivialize any information that is dissonant, that suggests that we were wrong. That process of action, self-justification, and further action along that slippery slope increases our commitment to the first decision, which might only have been a small impulse. How do you corrupt an innocent man? You just get him to take one small step off the pyramid, and self-justification and self-deception will do the rest. Cognitive dissonance and the self-deception it creates may be built into our mental wiring, but how we think about our mistakes, how we take action to correct them if we do, is not. That is learned, that is up to what our culture encourages or punishes. Many people in our culture learn and can learn that owning up to mistakes, being open to discrepant, dissonant information, that's the fundamental of science, leads to other ideas, better ideas, and it preserves relationships. I have yet to find anybody who is really upset when you say to them, honey, I've thought about this a long time, and you know, I was wrong and you were right. So my last word on this is an appreciation of the evolutionary benefits of dissonance and self-deception is no justification for not working to override them when we need to, and to protect ourselves from the people who won't or can't. Thank you.